Long before the glint of a coin ever caught a merchant's eye, silver held a special place in the story of China. It wasn't money, not in the way we think of it today. You couldn't just hand over a piece to buy your daily bread. Instead, this precious metal was a symbol of something more profound, something lasting. It was a store of immense wealth, a marker of power and prestige reserved for the highest echelons of society. Emperors, nobles, and powerful officials would hoard it, not as currency, but as a tangible representation of their status. This silver, often intricately worked into jewelry, vessels, and ornaments, was part of the imperial treasury, a testament to the might and splendor of the dynasty. The Chinese have always had a deep, almost instinctual connection to their history, and the story of silver is woven right into that fabric. For centuries, the primary form of currency was the humble bronze or copper cash coin, with its distinctive square hole in the middle. These were the coins of the people, the lifeblood of everyday transactions in bustling markets and quiet villages. Silver, by contrast, remained aloof, separate from this daily grind. It was used for large, significant payments, things like paying taxes to the state, funding military campaigns, or conducting major business deals between wealthy families. It was a metal for grand gestures, not for small change. Its value too great for the common marketplace. Imagine the scene. A wealthy landowner needs to pay his annual taxes to the imperial court. He wouldn't be counting out thousands of bronze coins. That would be impractical, a logistical nightmare. Instead, he would weigh out a specific amount of raw silver. This silver might be in the form of rough chunks, small bars, or even beautiful decorative items. The value was determined purely by its weight and its purity, a system that required scales and careful assessment for every single transaction. This method, while seemingly cumbersome to us now, was a trusted and established practice for centuries, a silent language of wealth understood across the vast expanse of the empire. This early use of silver set the stage for everything that was to come. It established silver's reputation as the ultimate measure of value, a standard against which all other forms of wealth could be judged. Even though it wasn't shaped into uniform coins, its role in the economy was undeniable. It was the bedrock of large-scale finance, the quiet engine powering the upper tiers of Chinese society. This ancient reverence for silver, this understanding of it as real, tangible wealth, would pave the way for its eventual transformation from a simple precious metal into the very backbone of the nation's monetary system, a journey that would take many hundreds of years to complete. As China's great dynasties rose and fell, the need for a more practical form of silver money became increasingly apparent. The Tang dynasty, a golden age of culture and commerce, saw the Silk Road flourish like never before. Trade routes buzzed with activity, connecting China to the far reaches of Asia and beyond. With this explosion in long-distance trade came the need for a more standardized way to handle large payments. Weighing out rough chunks of silver was simply too inefficient. And so, a remarkable innovation began to take shape: the silver ingot, known in Chinese as the yuan bao. These weren't coins, but they were a huge step closer. These early ingots were a brilliant solution. They were lumps of silver, melted down and cast into distinctive shapes. The most famous of these shapes, the one that has become an iconic symbol of Chinese wealth, is the saici. It looks a bit like a small boat or a traditional folded hat, with a raised mound in the center, and two wings on either side. Each ingot was stamped by the assayer or banker who made it, a mark that guaranteed its weight and, crucially, its purity. This stamp was a personal guarantee, a bond of trust. A merchant in Chang'an could accept an ingot from a far-off province, confident in its value because of the mark it bore. During the Song dynasty that followed, the use of these silver ingots became even more widespread and organized. The government itself began to accept them for tax payments, a move that cemented their status as a legitimate and official form of high-value currency. The Song economy was one of the most advanced in the world at the time, and it was during this period that the world's first paper money was also introduced. But paper money could be prone to inflation, its value fluctuating with the fortunes of the state. Silver was different. The yuan bao held its value, a solid, dependable anchor in a sometimes turbulent economic sea. It was the money of big business, of government finance, and of international trade. The system was beautifully simple and effective. While the common folk continued to use their strings of bronze cash coins for everyday needs, the yuan bao circulated among the wealthy, the powerful, and the merchants. You can almost picture them, stacked carefully in the treasure vaults of a trading house, or loaded onto camels for a long journey across the desert. Each ingot was a self-contained package of trust and value. It wasn't just a piece of metal, it was a promise, backed by the reputation of its creator. This system, born out of the practical needs of the Tang and Song dynasties, would dominate China's financial landscape for the next 1,000 years. The arrival of the Ming dynasty in the 14th century marked a pivotal moment in the story of Chinese money. The new dynasty inherited an economic system in chaos, ravaged by the wild inflation of the paper currency used by the previous Mongol Yuan dynasty. The Ming rulers were determined to restore stability and trust. Their solution was bold and decisive. They moved the entire empire onto a silver standard. This wasn't just a casual acceptance of silver, it was a fundamental reform known as the single whip system. From now on, all taxes and government dues were to be consolidated and paid in one single commodity, silver. This reform had a profound and lasting impact on China's economy. It officially made silver the primary measure of value for the entire nation. Everything, from the price of rice to the cost of labor, was now effectively calculated in terms of silver. This created a colossal, almost insatiable demand for the metal. Suddenly, silver wasn't just for the rich and powerful, it was essential for everyone who had to pay taxes, which was nearly every household in the empire. China became a giant silver sink, drawing the precious metal from all corners of the globe to satisfy its new monetary policy. It was a move that would reshape global trade routes for centuries to come. But here's the fascinating paradox. Despite making silver the foundation of its entire monetary system, the Ming dynasty never produced a national silver coin. The government was content to let silver circulate by weight, just as it had for centuries. The yuan bao ingot remained the standard for large transactions, while smaller payments were made using chopped-up pieces of silver, which had to be weighed and tested for purity every single time. Why didn't they take the final step and mint coins? The answer seems to lie in a deep-seated tradition and a hands-off government approach. The state was happy to demand silver for taxes but left the messy business of validating and circulating it to private merchants and money changers. This decision created a complex and fragmented monetary landscape. Without a standard government-issued coin, the system relied entirely on a network of private experts to cut, weigh, and assay silver for every transaction. This made commerce slow and often led to disputes over the weight and fineness of the silver. It was a system that worked, but it was far from efficient. The stage was set for a major disruption. China had an immense hunger for silver, but no domestic supply of standardized silver coins. This created a vacuum, and as the age of global exploration dawned, that vacuum was about to be filled by silver from a world away. As the Ming dynasty's demand for silver skyrocketed, a new and powerful force was emerging on the other side of the world. In the 1500s, Spain began to exploit the vast silver mines of the Americas, particularly in places like Potosi and modern-day Bolivia. This unleashed a torrent of silver onto the global market, and much of it was minted into a large, sturdy, and remarkably consistent coin. The Spanish dollar, also known as the piece of 8. These coins were produced in the millions, and through the new global trade routes, especially the Manila galleon trade connecting the Philippines to Mexico, they began to flow into China in staggering quantities. For Chinese merchants, who were accustomed to the cumbersome process of weighing and cutting silver, the Spanish dollar was a revelation. Here was a piece of silver that was a known weight and a known purity, stamped with the authority of a powerful king. It was reliable. You didn't need to bring out your scales or your touchstone every time you received one. The coins were so trusted that they quickly became a de facto currency in China's southern coastal provinces, the hubs of maritime trade. They were given local names like Benyang or Root Dollar, and were accepted everywhere from the smallest port town to the grand trading houses of Canton. The flow of these foreign coins was immense. Historians estimate that between the 16th and 19th centuries, a huge portion, perhaps a third or even a half, of all the silver mined in the Americas ended up in China. After Mexico gained its independence from Spain in the early 1800s, it continued to mint a silver dollar of a very similar size and quality. These new Mexican dollars, featuring a distinctive eagle and snake design, seamlessly replaced the Spanish dollar as the dominant foreign silver coin in China. They became so popular and so widespread that they were often called yin-yang, or eagle dollars. For almost 300 years, the Chinese economy, the largest in the world, ran not on its own currency, but on silver coins, minted thousands of miles away in Mexico City and Lima. This was a truly remarkable situation. The Chinese government, still clinging to its old ways, watched as its people and its merchants wholeheartedly adopted these foreign coins for everyday trade. The coins were so ubiquitous that local bankers and money changers would often stamp them with their own small mark or chop mark to certify their authenticity. The overwhelming success of these foreign dollars sent a clear message. China desperately needed its own standardized, machine-struck silver coin. The time for simply weighing silver was coming to an end. By the late 19th century, the pressure on the Qing dynasty to modernize was immense. China had suffered a series of humiliating military defeats and had been forced to sign unequal treaties with Western powers. The dominance of foreign silver dollars in its own economy was seen as yet another sign of weakness. Officials argued that China must produce its own modern machine-struck silver coins to assert its sovereignty and compete on the world stage. The champion of this cause was a visionary official named Zhang Zhidong, the viceroy of Guangdong and Guangxi provinces, which was a major center for foreign trade. He was determined to bring China's currency into the modern age. In 1887, Zhang Zhidong submitted a memorial to the imperial court, passionately arguing for the establishment of a modern mint in his province of Guangdong. He ordered state-of-the-art minting machinery from the Heaton Mint in Birmingham, England, which was a world leader in coin production technology at the time. His vision was to create a Chinese silver dollar that could directly compete with, and eventually replace, the popular Mexican eagle dollar. The design had to be powerful and unmistakably Chinese. It would feature the reigning Guangxu emperor's name, and on the reverse, a magnificent, fearsome dragon, the ultimate symbol of imperial power and authority. Finally, in 1889, the Guangdong Mint officially began production. The first coins that rolled off the presses were a landmark achievement, known as the Guangtung silver dollar. This was China's very first domestically produced, machine-struck silver coin. It was a beautiful piece of work, with English and Chinese inscriptions and the powerful dragon coiled around a pearl of wisdom. It was designed to have a similar weight and silver content to the foreign dollars it was meant to replace, making it easy for people to accept. This wasn't just a coin, it was a statement of intent, a declaration that China was ready to embrace modern technology while holding on to its ancient identity. The launch of the Guangtung dollar marked the beginning of a new chapter in Chinese numismatic history. It was the moment China finally transitioned from the ancient system of weighing silver to the modern concept of coinage. Although the initial production had some technical issues with its weight standard, the coin was a conceptual triumph. It proved that China had the capability to produce its own high-quality currency. The sight of that first silver dragon, gleaming and perfect, must have been a source of immense pride. It was the ancestor of all the Chinese silver coins that would follow, a bold first step on a long and complex journey. The success of the Guangtung Mint's experiment did not go unnoticed by the imperial court in Beijing or by other powerful provincial leaders. Seeing the potential for both profit and prestige, the central government gave its official approval for other provinces to establish their own modern mints. This decision unleashed a wave of minting activity across the country. Over the next 2 decades, from the late 1890s to the fall of the Qing dynasty in 1911, a whole family of silver coins, collectively known as the dragon dollars, began to circulate. It was honestly a period of incredible diversity and regional creativity in Chinese coinage. Each province that opened a mint produced its own version of the silver dollar. While they all followed a general pattern, the emperor's title on one side and a dragon on the other, there were countless variations. The dragons themselves were a marvel of artistic diversity. Some were fierce and aggressive, others were more serene and stylized. The dragon from the Hubei Mint had a different look to the one from the Beiyang Mint in Tianjin, which in turn was different from the one minted in faraway Sichuan. Collectors today spend fortunes trying to acquire all the different provincial dragon types. These coins tell a story not of a single, unified empire, but of a collection of powerful regions, each with its own sense of identity. This decentralized system, however, had its problems. While the idea was for all the coins to have a standard weight and fineness, the reality was often different. The quality control at some of the provincial mints was not as good as it should have been. As a result, the weight and silver content of the coins could vary slightly from one province to another. Shrewd merchants and money changers would exploit these small differences, hoarding the heavier, more valuable coins and passing the lighter ones into circulation. This lack of uniformity undermined the very goal of creating a truly national, standardized currency. The system was better than weighing silver, but it was still far from perfect. Recognizing this chaos, the central government in Beijing made a final attempt to unify the currency in the last years of the Qing dynasty. In 1910 and 1911 they designed a new, standardized silver dollar that was intended to be the single, official coin for the entire empire. This coin, known as the long-whiskered dragon or reverse dragon dollar, featured a stunning new dragon design. However, before it could be mass-produced and distributed nationwide, history intervened. The 1911 Xinhai Revolution erupted, the Qing dynasty collapsed, and the age of imperial dragons came to an abrupt and dramatic end, leaving behind a rich legacy of beautiful but inconsistent coins. The fall of the Qing dynasty in 1911 and the establishment of the Republic of China ushered in another period of political and monetary uncertainty. The new republic desperately needed a unified national currency to consolidate its power and stabilize the economy. The man who would ultimately provide it was Yuan Shikai, a powerful military general who became the first formal president of the Republic of China. In 1914, his government passed the National Currency Ordinance, which called for the creation of a new standard silver dollar that would replace the old dragon dollars and the various foreign coins still in circulation. This new coin, which began to be minted in huge quantities, is one of the most famous in Chinese history. It is known simply as the Yuan Shikai dollar, or more colloquially, as the Yuan Datu, which translates to Yuan Big Head. The name comes from its design, which prominently features a detailed portrait of Yuan Shikai in his military uniform on the obverse. This was honestly a radical departure from tradition. For thousands of years, Chinese coins had featured inscriptions or mythical creatures like dragons, never the image of a living ruler. The portrait style was a direct adoption of Western numismatic practice, signaling a complete break with the imperial past. The Yuan Shikai dollar was an enormous success. It was minted to a consistent and reliable standard of weight, 26.7 grams, and purity, 89% silver. Mints across the country, from Tianjin to Nanjing, produced hundreds of millions of these coins over 2 decades. They quickly gained the trust of the public and became the dominant currency throughout China, finally achieving the goal of a truly unified silver standard that had eluded the Qing dynasty. The simple, reliable design and consistent quality made it the backbone of the Chinese economy during a tumultuous period of warlords, civil war, and foreign invasion. Even today, these coins are incredibly common and serve as a tangible link to that chaotic era. While the Yuan Shikai dollar was the most common coin, the Republican era was still home to a wide variety of other silver coins. Many powerful warlords, who controlled their own regions, minted their own silver dollars, often featuring their own portraits or symbols. There were also commemorative coins struck to mark important events like the founding of the Republic, featuring portraits of figures like Sun Yat-sen. This created a complex mix of currencies, but the Yuan Big Head remained the anchor, the one coin that was trusted and accepted almost everywhere. It was the last great silver coin of China to be used as everyday money. The reign of silver as China's primary currency, a story that spanned centuries, came to a dramatic end in the 1930s. The world was in the grip of the Great Depression, and global economic forces began to pull China's monetary system apart. In 1934, the United States passed the Silver Purchase Act, a policy that dramatically increased the price of silver on the world market. For China, which was on a silver standard, this was a catastrophe. The value of its currency, tied to silver, suddenly soared. This made Chinese goods incredibly expensive to export, crippling the nation's economy. The rising price of silver created a massive incentive for silver to be smuggled out of China. It was now more profitable to melt down the trusted Yuan Shikai dollars and sell the raw silver abroad than it was to use them as money within the country. This led to a severe currency shortage, a so-called silver drain, that starved the economy of the money it needed to function. Businesses could not make payroll, Banks were on the verge of collapse, and the entire financial system teetered on the brink. The nationalist government, led by Chiang Kai-shek, realized that it could no longer cling to the silver standard. A drastic change was needed to save the country from economic ruin. In November 1935, the government enacted the FOPI reforms. This was a momentous decision. The government officially abandoned the silver standard, declared that all silver coins were no longer legal tender, and nationalized all the silver in the country. Citizens were ordered to exchange their silver dollars for a new, government-issued paper currency, the FOPI, or legal tender. In one swift move, silver was demonetized. Its role as money, which had defined the Chinese economy since the Ming Dynasty, was over. The era of the silver coin, from the first dragon dollar to the last yuan shikai dollar, had come to a close. The transition to a purely paper-based currency system was fraught with difficulty. While it initially helped stabilize the economy, the outbreak of the Second Sino-Japanese War in 1937 and the subsequent Chinese Civil War forced the government to print massive amounts of FOPI to fund its military expenditures. This led to hyperinflation, which destroyed the value of the paper currency and caused widespread economic hardship. By the time the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949, the country's monetary system had been completely transformed. The silver dollar was now just a memory, a relic of a bygone age, replaced by the new paper renminbi. After the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, silver's role in the nation's monetary life vanished completely. The new government established a centrally controlled economy with a new paper currency, the renminbi. For 3 decades, the idea of minting coins from precious metals like silver or gold was completely off the table. The memories of the old silver dollars were associated with the chaotic and unequal society of the past. The focus was on building a new socialist state, and precious metals were seen as state assets, not as something for public circulation or collection. The great story of Chinese silver seemed to have finally reached its end. However, as China began its period of reform and opening up, in the late 1970s and early 1980s, its relationship with the world, and with its own past, began to change. The People's Bank of China recognized a new opportunity: the growing international market for modern collectible coins, known as non-circulating legal tender. In 1979, China re-entered the world of precious metal coinage by issuing its first modern commemorative coins. Then, in 1982, it launched a coin that would become a global phenomenon, the Chinese silver panda. This was the beginning of a whole new era for Chinese silver. The Chinese panda coins, issued annually in both silver and gold, were an instant international success. Unlike the coins of the past, these were not intended to be used as money for buying and selling goods. They were bullion coins, their value based on their silver content, but also highly sought-after collectibles, prized for their beautiful and annually changing designs featuring the beloved giant panda. The China Mint developed sophisticated techniques, like sandblasting, to create a stunning visual contrast on the coins, making them small works of art. The panda coin re-established China as a major player in the world of minting, not for currency, but for artistry and investment. Today, the story of Chinese silver has come full circle. It began as a store of wealth for the elite, transformed into the backbone of the national currency for centuries, and has now returned to being a prized asset and a beautiful collectible. The China Mint produces a wide array of silver commemorative coins, celebrating everything from ancient inventions and cultural landmarks to the Chinese lunar zodiac. These modern coins connect a new generation of collectors around the world to China's rich history and culture. The silver coin is no longer the money of the people, but it remains a powerful symbol of China's enduring legacy and its remarkable journey through time.